So this is another review video of the Commodore C64 Reloaded MK2, but in quite different style. So with the availability of the new board, I was interested in to look whether the video output of the board is making a difference compared to older, or let's say compared to the original C64 boards. And the one thing in particular I was interested in to see is what's the difference adding different VIC chips to the board. And the interesting thing with the older boards, you can modify them. So usually they come with this kind of a bulky original modulator. I can show you this one. Like this one. This is the original modulator on the 425 boards, and usually they are just there to produce the signal for the antenna connection, so to say, for the RF connection. But this modulator is involved in producing the composite and the S-video signal as well. So usually they add a couple of let's say artifacts or noise to the picture, and so for most of my projects I simply replace this one with a mod, an assembly kit, a modulator mod. And I can show you this as well. This looks usually like this. So this is a modulator replacement, and especially on this board, just for testing purpose, I can remove it, and so it's a one-to-one replacement, so there are no changes required on the board itself. It is really just get rid of the old one and add the new one. And the interesting thing with the Reloaded is that you can run both types of VIC chips on it, so the old one as well as the new one. And I already went through a couple of different VIC chips, so a couple of new ones, they are quite similar, and a few of the older ones. And here we can see quite a good difference, and this is what we're going to examine today. And I'd like to compare this to the original board as well. So it will be some plug and play session, and for the sake of comparison, since I'm going to test two original boards as well without modification, I'm using the S-video signal from the original video connector, so we are not going to use the small S-video connector. And let's see what we can identify. So we need some power to the board, and now we just power it up. So what we can see here is that there's a very bluish appearance, and so this is quite close, I would say, to the older monitors as well. So they weren't very bright, and so you had this kind of a bluish touch to the whole picture. And if you used to use emulators, for example, or if you used to running the older boards on modern TV sets, they appear to be brighter, and this is usually due to a so-called chroma level difference. And as you can see, I have added an additional resistor, and this is just to reduce the color level, but especially on this board it makes not a huge difference. And so whether I go for this connector, which has no resistor in the circuit, no resistor in the plug, the appearance is quite the same, because the Framemeister XRGB Mini I'm using does quite a good job in scaling brightness and chroma, so I can even use it without the resistor on all the boards as well. But anyway, so and for the first test I just started with the 8565, so the VIC-2 newer model, and as we can see here is that the picture appears to be quite clear. There are almost no artifacts, and there's just a very small shadow on the left hand side corner between the brighter and the darker areas. But overall this is a very clear picture, and now we're going to check in comparison how it looks like on the original board. So I just get rid of this one because I'm running out of space, I'm sorry, on my desk. Put this aside, and then we go for Commodore C64G. So, and as you can probably spot, there's the short version of the board, so it's a 469 board, and going to have the same procedure, putting it the same video signal, and we need some power, and let's see what we will see. Takes just a short moment, and here we go. So this is the picture of the original 469 board, which runs on a 8565 VIC as well, and here we can see that we have this quite typical fence effect. So we have some vertical bars here, and this is an effect of the VIC and the modulator. So the creation of the signal produces this kind of fence effect, and perhaps you can see that there are some kind of patterns in this. So we can spot some well, dots and grids and all that stuff. So this is due to the Framemeister, who is which is kind of trying to create quite a clear picture. So in a normal TV set, on a normal well, yeah, 1084 monitor, Commodore monitor, or a normal TV set, this will be more alive, so to say. So it's not as rigid or fixed in place as we can see it here right now. But compared to the reloaded board, there's clearly a difference. And as a next example, we will have the same test with a modified 469 board. Let's go for my test board. As you can see, it's 8565 VIC, the same model. Let me switch it on. You can see that at least this grid-like, pattern-like fence effect is reduced, and the picture appears to be brighter, so the contrast between the dark and the bright bluish colors is almost the same, but the whole picture appears to be brighter, even by using the same connector as we have done for the reloaded board. And this is quite interesting, because I've tested a couple of different VICs on the reloaded board, and the image was always as dark as the one we have seen at the beginning. And so this is a little bit odd, because I think the picture is a little bit too dark for my taste. Others may see this a little bit different, but I prefer this more brighter picture. And but the difference we can spot here as well is that it looks a little bit blurry, so it's not as sharp as the reloaded board. And I think this is one of the major benefits of the new board, that the picture is very crisp, so to say, except for the darkness, so whatever. And the interesting thing with this modulator replacement is that you can add additional wires to certain pins of the VIC, and you can use those two putties and change the fence effect. So fortunately on this board the fence effect is quite low, so I haven't added the wires, and this is usually what I'm doing, but since this is my test board and I keep removing parts and adding them back, it was a little bit uncomfortable to have the wires, because I'm using the same board to test original modulators as well. And so I was not really interested in to have the wires on it, and the picture's quite okay. So so this is for the first test, 469 board with 8565 VIC against reloaded with the same VIC on it. And let's head back to the reloaded board and see what we can have with it in all the VIC. So here we are back with this, let's see whether we can find this. A little bit too small, but it's just temporary. So, as you have probably already recognized, I have two different types of the VIC chips. So that's the normal packaging, and this is a very early one, and so it's from 1983, and we can have a test with this one and the other ones as well. And I have 3 8565 VIC chips from different years, but they are all the R2 edition, so the revision, so to say. And I haven't seen a huge difference. So the one I had on the board already appeared to be a little bit brighter than the other ones, so they are even a little bit darker. But overall they were quite similar. So let's start with the oldest one, 1983. So we need some power, and we need a video connection. There we go. So the LED indicates everything is fine so far. And here we got a picture. So I think it is obvious that the picture is brighter compared to the newer VIC chip, and there's almost no fence effect, so the picture is really crisp and clear, except for those kind of violet, I don't know, tint in some of the letters. So you can especially see in the upper two lines that almost every second letter has a different color, and this is quite common for the older VIC types. You can see this on older boards as well. And Let's have a comparison to a 407 board to see whether we can spot the same effect on this. So this is another of my test boards, as you can see, with a modulator replacement, and let's see what kind of picture this board is producing. It's the same, it's not the same, it's the older week, the 6569 revision 5, so it's one of the latest models from 1989. It's quite surprising that Commodore was producing the 8565 and the 6569 quite some years in parallel. So the oldest 8565 I've got here is from 1988, and this one is from 1989, so it's even newer. And what we can see here is that the fence effect is much stronger on this board, and this grid-like dot effect is back as well, and we have our colorful letters as well. So this board combines almost all of the negative effects of the combination of having an old wig and an old board, even if it's modded with the modulator replacement. And just to have a fair comparison, we can have another 425 C64, I think, and see what kind of picture we get there. So this is that's a pretty old one. It's from 1984, so it's quite used, and we have a lot of dirt and color problems on the housing, and we got some kind of a different picture, as we can see. So the fence effect is just very weak, and it's quite hard to spot a vertical pattern. But what's typical, as we can see, is that we got our colorful letters as well, but overall the picture appears to be quite clear, and considering that this is an unmodified, it's an original C64, the picture is quite okayish, and we got our dots and all that stuff, which is based on the analog digital conversion, but overall I think this is quite a good example of an older board. I have seen worst. So then let's return to the Reloaded again and see whether we can spot a difference with a different week. So which one was it? Power and the video. It's off. So then let's go for 1984, and see what we have here. interesting. We got a black and white dish picture, so it appears to be that this wig has some issues, and it looks like that this wig isn't outputting the color information, but due to the way the signal is created, we see that it is clearly an analog picture. And but interestingly, as we can spot on the letter M, and our cursor, our blinky cursor, there is an issue. There's an additional issue. So probably the wig can't access the char ROM as supposed to be. So it looks like there's a major issue with this wig. So for the sake of comparing boards and not wigs, then let's check another one. So I probably have to check this one on a normal board to see what's going on. So, and this is the already mentioned 6569 from 1989. So this is probably one of the youngest old wigs you can find on the market. I'm not sure whether they are 1990. And here we got almost the same bright picture with this violet color touch to the brighter areas. But overall, this is quite a nice picture. Can't complain about this. So there's almost no fancy effect, no grids, and no digital dots. So this is really a good picture. And for the sake of comparison, a lot of people saying that especially the 466 board has one of the best pictures of all the Commodores. So let's see whether this is true or not. So hopefully this one is starting. I haven't checked this for a while. At least it powers up. Interestingly, the 466 boards are quite rare, and I was really happy to get one, and I wasn't even aware of it. So I was just wondering about this strange combination of having the newer case, the brighter keyboard, but the old style of keys. So, and as I was just checking the inside, I was surprised to see that this is a 466 board. And what we can see that the picture is almost, I would say, it's almost the level of the Commodore C64 Reloaded MK2 board. So we got our differences in the blues, as we expect to see it from a 65-69 wig. But overall there's almost no fancy effect, and there are no artifacts, nothing like this. And even the slight shadow around the vertical edges is very minor. So it is a little bit reversed on this one. So as far as I can see it on the right hand side, the brighter border kind of smudges into the darker background, but overall this is a very pleasant picture. So well, I think we have to admit that the 466 boards are very good, and this is not even modified, so this is really original. And I think it is it's open. Let's have a look inside. Oh, so the keyboard is mounted, okay. Otherwise we could have a look inside. But I think let's do this. Let's have a look what kind of VIC is. Yeah, it must be a 65, 69 because this is an older 12-volt board. Interestingly, I had a 1407 board which were running on a 8565 VIC. So it looks like that the newer VIC is capable of running on old boards. Although I wouldn't recommend this, so because it was not made for this one. Whoa, this looks quite experimental. Oh, good that I had a look inside. So I think this is something I need to repair. And as expected, it's a 6569 R5 from 1986. Okay, now we got rid of it completely. So okay, so this is a candidate for the next weekend. And there's an interesting thing as well. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Perhaps there is one of the voltage regulator broken because it's attached to this one. Or maybe there are some issues with the voltage on the board at all. That's something I need to check, and it's pretty dirty. Well, okay. But anyway, the picture was great, and so interesting. Perhaps I will have attempt and have a modulator replacement on this board as well, just to see whether this is going to add a difference to improve the picture quality, which is actually quite fine. So it will be a little bit challenging to have a better one, but anyway. And probably I'm going to look for an 466 board which is in better shape, better condition. Maybe there is one in my collection, I'm still not aware of it. Okay, and that's almost all I was going to show today. And I think as a conclusion, consumption, as a summary, not a consumption, as a summary. We'll just have one wrap up, old VIC against new VIC on the reloaded board. So that's the one we have already seen. And I think this is really comparable to the 466 board we have seen as the latest. And just keep in mind how it looks like. Going to switch to let's take another one. It's almost the same. 8565 from 1989, so that's even the same week. Like, oh no, that's week 50 and this is week 5, but from the same year. And here we can see it is very darkish. So, and I'm not very happy with this dark picture. So perhaps there's a chance to maybe doing an upgrade or something like this to the board or so. And I'm pretty sure there are others which are not very happy with the look of the old VIC. So anyway, but this was my VIC shootout on the Commodore C64 reloaded MK2 board against other original boards, and hopefully it was kind of interesting to you, and if you like my videos, just thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos in the future, please subscribe. Thank you very much.